And now, a thought from man.
You know, I really do love The Loud House, and I'm not the only one that loves this show. Granted, some love it more unnecessarily than others. Always have Safe Search on when looking this show up.
Gross.
It has such a fun collection of characters, and the comedy manages to hit pretty well with Lincoln Loud and his huge family. They have such a fun energy to them. That is, when they're not murdering each other. And it's even gotten big enough to get a spin-off series. But a certain thing I and many others have started to notice is that the show has become a bit too predictable. It was a problem that wasn't too big in the first and second season, but with the third season, it's way more prominent. The main culprit to this is that the show wants to focus too much on having the characters learn a lesson. And they're not really the most strong or unique lessons. They're things everyone's learned since preschool. It also hurts that the show can't teach these lessons in a more unique way. They usually have the characters talk about how they did something wrong and have the stock music playing in the background to try to tug at your heartstrings, which honestly feels way too manipulative. One fairly recent example is the Thanksgiving special. In that episode, the Loud and Casagrande families clash over who should host Thanksgiving to keep Bobby and Lori from leaving for the other family. They show off their specialities, but end up going too far and make Bobby and Lori leave both of them. The families learn to compromise and decide to rotate hosts every year after a third party suggests it. Now, that premise has been done 1,000 times over by other movies and shows and done a lot better. So this special ends up holding itself back because it tries too hard to teach such an obvious lesson. It doesn't help that the first 11 minutes of this 22-minute special is all about setting up everything. This could have been a lot stronger had the special just focused on being funny and having fun interactions with this colorful cast of characters. It was more of an hour-long special since it does have over 26 characters to focus on. Granted, I don't think anyone wants to see an hour-long Thanksgiving special. It's still fairly entertaining episode, but sadly it's bogged down to be something people have already seen before and saw the solution within the first second of the special. This even makes me worry about the spinoff because I feel it might fall into the same trap.
Way harsh, dude.
And that goes towards a whole plethora of episodes that had the characters learn some type of important lesson, even in episodes that don't really revolve around the Loud family. Another offender of this would be the episode Be Stella My Heart, where they introduce a new character that wants to be a part of Lincoln's friend group, but they mistake her for wanting to date one of them, and then the big lesson is that just because a girl wants to talk to you doesn't mean they want you as a boyfriend. Now, I think that's a good lesson and honestly feel it was more of a message to the audience about shipping the characters too much, which, let's face it, that happens too often in media, especially with this show. Again, Safe Search on. But the problem still stands that the episode is weighed down by the fact that it wanted to teach a lesson, and this time at the expense of creating a jobber character. Maybe she'll show up again later on, but I wouldn't be surprised if they keep her as a one-off thing. Honestly, I find the show so predictable that the 22-minute special, as of the recording of this video, hasn't premiered yet, called Really Loud Music.
Get it?
I'm pretty sure I can tell you exactly what the big lesson is gonna be. From what the synopsis of the episode says, it's going to be about Luna about to have her big break and having to choose between using her unique sound or going with a more mainstream tune. The lesson will be Luna choosing to remain true to herself and not selling out just for fame.
Warning, man would like you to take this prediction with loads of salt, but if he is correct, he's not going to help you win the lotto or blackjack.
The funny thing is, I want to be wrong about that prediction. I don't want it to be that easy to read this series and know exactly how things are going to play out, but I'll have to wait and see.
Moving right along.
Another big thing the show needs to work on would be how they handle solutions. Most of the episodes tend to have such an easy solution that people can figure out a mile away, which plays more into the predictability of the show. Now, I'm not saying you can't have an obvious solution at all, it's just it doesn't really work with these characters. The Loud family and the side characters tend to have their wits about them sometimes, so them making obviously wrong decisions makes you lose relatability to the characters because it doesn't feel like anyone with common sense would choose the bad option. You can make it so the bad option is the only choice, but that tends not to be the case. A few episodes that come into mind are the April Fool's episodes. Luann always goes on a pranking spree every April Fool's Day. Now there's a very important rule to keep in mind. Luann can't prank people outside of the house, unless she wants to spend time in juvie. Now with that rule set, the solution is obvious to just leave the house for the day. But the family normally doesn't and comes up with some harebrained scheme that backfires on them. Another solution could be the parents just put their foot down and ground her. They definitely have the right to.
Happy April Stools! Are those diapers? She wouldn't.
I mean, that's just downright biological warfare. A way they could make those episodes work is if they took the parents out of the equation by having them go out somewhere and made it so Luann pranks the hell out of her siblings, even trapping them in the house so they can't leave. That could work better because then you wouldn't be thinking, why don't the parents just ground her or tell her to stop? Because, well, they're not present. Granted, they could probably ground her in the end and that could be her comeuppance, so that could work still to your advantage.
Go on.
There's also one very infamous episode that has the characters going against common sense, and that's No Such Luck. Now, I know people are sick to death of hearing about this episode in particular, mainly because it's used to bash Lynn Jr. Kinda rightfully so, honestly, but that's neither here nor there. So I'll focus on the grand whole of why the episode fails. The big problem with this episode is that it's the clearest example of plot contrivance and convenience. You had the family kick Lincoln out of the house simply because they believe he's bad luck. Even though in a previous episode called Ties That Bind, Rita and Lynn Sr. said they would never kick out any of their kids, but you have them do it here because that's what's needed. Same goes for Lisa, who's a girl of science, so she would clearly believe in the scientific method, but because the plot says so, she ditches her beliefs for superstition in just a snap. All the characters go against what has previously been established just because, well, the plot needed it, which is something no one should ever do. The plot should always work for the sake of the characters and not the other way around. When a show like this has this type of problem, it creates a major inconsistency that can be a major turnoff for people. Don't get me wrong, characters are allowed to be flawed. Hell, a show like this needs that, otherwise it'd be plain boring. But the characters can't be inconsistent. It can make people think the show is a total crapshoot and characters' personalities and beliefs are meaningless. And with a show like this, you don't want that. And the argument of it's episodic doesn't work because the show has a clear continuity like with Bobby and Ronnie and Moving. And just as well, a lot of episodic shows have the characters still stay true to who they are. Now I can actually tell you where the show thrives the best, and that would be episodes that mainly just have the characters playing off of each other and have them tackle a problem with no clear solution to them. Case in point, the episode Tripped. In that episode, it's all about the Lau family just going on a road trip. There's no real lesson to be learned, and you get some pretty funny jokes because it just focuses on the clashing personalities of the characters. It's not about the goal, it's just about the journey to get to their goal and everything they go through. Another great example is an episode called Scales of Justice. In it, Lana just wants to save her fish friends from being killed because some business wants to pave over their habitat. All of it works because it just has a personal goal for the character to reach. That's not about teaching some preachy lesson. A very strong episode is Head Poet Anxiety, where Luann helps Lucy prepare for a recital. It's one of the strongest episodes because it has unlikely characters bonding and learning a personal and unique lesson, which is much better than the more preachy lessons the show tends to have. Loud House is a unique show, but it would really benefit from showing off their uniqueness. It shouldn't focus on lessons everybody and their grandma knows and be more focused on its cast of characters getting in and out of situations that don't have a clear answer to them. People like not being able to tell what they're gonna get so early on, and they love characters that are consistent with everything they've been shown so far. So that's just the big lesson to take from this.
Get it?
Don't focus on lessons, keep characters consistent, and more focus on your characters playing off of each other and dealing with situations that are unique to them, and you can probably turn out a much better result. Honestly, I hope the writers take some of the criticisms they get to heart and put it into play with this show and the spinoff. Because this is a good series and I want to see it thrive. I want Loud House to have staying power. But if it keeps things the way they are, it could guarantee your audience will eventually go silent. But you know, that's just a thought.